Here's the Writer's Almanac for Tuesday, the 9th of April, 2019. Today's poem by Barbara Cooker, entitled Usage.
As a writer, I'm fascinated by wordplay and usage. I'm also the annoying person with a magic marker who corrects spelling errors, misuse of apostrophes, etc. in the grocery store.
It was on this day, 1833, the first tax-supported public library in America opened in Peterborough, New Hampshire. Today there are more than 9,000 public libraries in this country, including the one in Peterborough, which is still going strong. It was Jorge Luis Borges who said, "I have always imagined that paradise will be a kind of library." And it was Dr. Johnson, Samuel Johnson, who said, "No place affords a more striking conviction of the vanity of human hopes than a public library." It's the birthday of the poet Charles Baudelaire, born in Paris, 1821. Inherited a small fortune, but spent so much on clothes and entertainment and drugs, squandered half of it. His family had to take what was left and dole it out to him in small increments. He only published one book of poems, Le Fleur du Mal, The Flowers of Evil, in 1857, died of syphilis at the age of 46. And it's the birthday of the scientist who, along with his co-worker Min-Chu Chang, discovered that the hormone progesterone would work to stop ovulation, and so they created the first birth control pills, which were approved by the federal government in 1960. Gregory Pincus, born in Woodbine, New Jersey, 1903. It was on this day, 1865, General Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant, effectively ending the Civil War. Lee's and Grant's armies had converged in Appomattox, Virginia. Fighting began at dawn. Within a few hours, Lee realized that his troops were outnumbered and surrounded, and his choice was to carry on a guerrilla war or surrender with dignity. He said to his staff, "There is nothing left for me to do but to go and see General Grant, and I would rather die 1,000 deaths." But he dressed up in a crisp new uniform, his red silk sash, gloves, a ceremonial sword. He thought he might be taken as a prisoner of war as he rode his horse, Traveler, to the front lines under a flag of truce in full view of the Union Army. Asked for a meeting with Grant that he wanted to discuss the question of surrender. So there was a ceasefire, and when Grant got the news, he sent word to Lee that Lee, should choose the time and place for a meeting. They found an abandoned brick house in town. Lee came in alone. General Grant came with a dozen of his generals and officers. They reminisced about the Mexican-American War, and then Grant brought up the subject of surrender. After the terms had been written and signed, Robert E. Lee rode back to his camp, and his soldiers were lined up alongside the road. They were cheering for him. He began to cry, and men reached out and patted his horse as he rode past. Here's a poem by Barbara Cooker, Usage. Here in the vernacular suburbs, lawns verb up from curb to sidewalk, the active tense of spring, the adjectival plantings of azaleas, rhododendrons, the punctuation of small bulbs, pauses of crocuses, semicolon hyacinths whose perfume stops you short, daffodils, asterisky, golden heads, the exclamations of tulips, red, 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 though textbooks caution the road to hell is paved with adverbs. Spring comes at us riotously, vigorously, with a break-your-heart flourish. Meanwhile, the house, the one solid noun in this story, rests on its foundation, happy to be modified, ready to open its door to the other noun, the collective one that's just now coming up the driveway. Usage, a poem by Barbara Crooker from Les Fauves, published by CNR Press and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.
Hi, this is Barbara Crooker wishing you a happy National Poetry Month. If you appreciate this program and the way it brings new poetry to a broad audience, please consider donating to the Writer's Almanac. There's a link to donate in the email newsletter.